Hey, it's the Trout. Here's a question for you. How does a first generation Italian American musician professionally trained by classical musicians from Detroit, Michigan become the leader of the most popular party band in Texas? Well, the answer to that question is next on KT and the Trout. Stay tuned.
KT and the Trout Show!
Hello, everybody. This is the Trout with KT and the Trout, and we got KT with us right there. Hello there.
What's going on?
And we are at episode 10. And,
Crazy.
It's crazy. We started this
I
not
love
too
it.
long ago, and I can't wait till we get to 11 so we can make that joke. Okay, so that's we can't make it at 10. And before I forget, I always want to tell people when they jump on here to make sure they follow us. They can follow us on Instagram at KT and the Trout. Push the subscribe button that you're going to be seeing down below here right now. Bing. Tell your friends about it, and you can listen to us on our podcast. We are everywhere that you can find a podcast, and there's some. And
International.
International. Website's KT and the Trout, and of course, everything's KT and the Trout. So once again, we have a wonderful guest today, and I'm excited to be able to talk to this gentleman. Met him through a friend of mine, and I have made lots of notes. I usually don't have to do this, but I made so many notes because I'm going to forget if I don't do it because I'm getting older. So today we have the guy that leads, I love this, the gold standard of entertainment party bands.
They are for sure.
And that's Deno Taglioli, if I said that right, Deno.
Yeah, you did. You got the last name right.
Thanks. He is the guy that
He's been practicing that.
I did. I used to go, hello. So anyway, Deno started the Emerald City Band. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and Kansas City and other areas they perform at, actually they played all over the United States. And we're just going to talk about it because I think it's a great band. I've had the privilege of being able to see Deno in person and play. So Deno, welcome. Thank you for taking time for coming in on the show.
Yes.
Thank you
Definitely.
for having me. Thank you.
So we're going to start out with the simple stuff first, a little history. If I understand from our original conversation, you are from Detroit or up that area, or where are you from originally?
Well, I was actually born in Detroit. I'm first generation Italian. My parents were actually, and parents and their parents, everybody, all from Italy. So I was the firstborn of our family here in America, born in Detroit, and I lived just out of Detroit. I grew up just outside of Detroit, in a place called Dearborn Heights.
Actually, I've heard of it. I don't know why. I think I have heard of it. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Well, and that's where I grew up, and my family, of course, Italians love music, love to sing, love to play, and so I was always surrounded by the spirit of our heritage a little bit, in that regard.
So, in your family, did you have a big family or average size family?
Oh yeah, come on.
Yeah, Italians.
I gotta ask.
Yeah, Italians. Yeah, we had five kids, and in our family, and it was almost a requirement to play music in our family. So not everybody stuck with it, but it was like something that you were going to do. My mom would sing. She was a great singer, but when she grew up, of course, if you can imagine, it was kind of played down to at that point for her to get on stage. Her mom didn't want her on stage,
Gotcha.
Didn't want her in that lifestyle. And we're going back to the 30s, and the 40s. And so, but my mom loved music and she encouraged us to play, all of us. And I just got the bug, I got the bug really, really early on,
So did you always want to be a drummer, or is that something you just started doing?
It kind of evolved. So when I first told, when I showed an interest in music, my mom, piano,
Keyboard, piano, yep.
Yeah.
Keyboard, which is the right thing to do. Now, for some reason, through family and friends, we became friends with people in the Detroit Symphony. And my mom always leaned on them as far as advice, what to do, who to study with. But piano was always, every one of us in the family had to start with piano. It gives you harmony, rhythm, and melody, and reading ability, and it does make a lot of sense. If I would have just started with just drums,
Oh yeah.
which I evolved into a drummer, but if I would have started with just drums, I could have been missing out on a lot of the harmonic things and melodic
Sure.
parts of music, because you think rhythm.
Mhm.
Some of the best drummers out there, are Phil Collins and Don Henley, drummers who can sing. And they sing great, and they have a sense of rhythm, and they got a feel about how they sing. And I think a lot of it has to do with the drumming part of it.
Right.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So when she found out I wanted to study, I studied piano. I didn't really like the piano teacher, but I took the lessons because that's what we were going to do.
So how old were you at that time?
At that time, probably maybe 10.
Okay, you were young. Okay.
Yeah.
Young. I mean, some
Yeah.
kids nowadays start when they're 4 or 5. But,
Yeah, I know.
4 or 5. Yeah.
but I started around 10, which is considered a bit early, maybe 9, 10, and piano. And then, of course, I had this obsession about the drums, and being Italian, we go to weddings a lot. Almost every weekend there was somebody getting married, and that was my exposure to the wedding band. But it was really cool because I was like, I was just like, I just stand in front of the band. Now you got to imagine we're talking accordion, talking about bass, guitar, drums, and a saxophone. So that's your typical wedding band in Detroit. But boy, I just sit back by the drums and watch them all night long. So she knew I really loved doing it. And so when I kept pushing her to play the drums, she wasn't just going to give me a drum set and a pair of sticks. That wasn't going to happen. I was
No.
going to have to play
Yeah.
the right way. I was going to have to learn to read. I was going to have to be technically proficient, So she called the box office at the Detroit Symphony and was like, I have a son and he wants to take lessons. So they gave her a name of one of the percussionists in the Detroit Symphony. And that's who I started. Ray Mikowski is who I started studying.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you were reading drum music.
Oh,
I
yeah.
see.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
reading,
It's-
understanding literature, part of the reason why I think I can write a good hook is because when you're a percussionist in a symphony and you're playing Romeo and Juliet, or you're playing,
yeah, Beethoven or whatever. Yeah.
any of those symphonies, the percussion section stands around a lot. There could literally be 15 minutes before you crash a cymbal.
Right.
And when you sit in these rehearsals and the conductor's rehearsing the string section over and over again with these incredible melodies, and it's almost like you just be all these melodies coming in your head, right? And so I didn't realize that by osmosis, I'm taking all this really great melodic, pieces of literature. It's like reading. It's like reading a lot, and then you become a writer,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you were in Detroit and you became a drummer. Did you start a band when you were a little bit older, like in high school, like I did, KT did?
Yeah. So now I'm studying with Ray Mikowski, and the lesson was 30 minutes long for $6. Think about that. I have a daughter who's a really good piano player, and I was just like going like this, and it was 125 an hour.
An hour, yeah.
An hour. And I'm
Yeah.
going, oh my God, I can remember it was so at 6, that's a half hour. My father would take me to my lesson, and I'm not kidding, my lesson would last hour and a half, 2 hours. This teacher was so into teaching that there wasn't
That's
like,
killer.
okay, your lesson's up.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I would be there sometimes starting at 9 and be there till 11:30.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
was
wow.
and so I started when I first lesson with him, he just played, he put something in front of me and I played it. He said, okay, put your sticks down. So it was literally, now up to this point, I got to back up a little bit. Before this point, I was taking some drum lessons at a local music store.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention this. So I'm at Ron Henry Music on Telegraph. Okay. And those people from Detroit would know what I'm talking about. Ford Road and Telegraph. And so I'm taking lessons from this guy. And this guy's just a drum set player. And he's going to teach me how to play the cha-cha. And he's going to teach me how to play the rumba. Right. So my mom's like, what are you studying? I said, well, I'm learning how to play a rumba,
Right.
Yeah.
And the next week, she goes, what did you study? I said, the rumba. And then the next week, she goes, what did you study? The rumba. So this guy had me just playing the same thing over and over. After 4 lessons, she said, no, you're out.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't know what he's doing. You need to get it. So that's how I forgot to mention, that's how I got to Ray Makowski from the symphony. So at that point, Ray started me all over again. I mean, I put my sticks down, pick them up. No, put them down. Pick them up. No, you got to be relaxed, pick them up. Yeah. So it was real. This guy was, he was into feel a lot. He was into, form and where your shoulders are, the whole bit, the whole thing.
And because he was used to standing around for hours and doing the right thing. Yeah. Yep.
Well, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. Like pick up the phone book. No, put it down. Just teaching you how to hold, and then how to hold the sticks and how to move your wrists, and we started with quarter notes. We started with just one note at a time, 1 note at a time, 2 notes at a time, and then reading. So I really had to start off. He had me start from the beginning. So now we go a year later, 2 later, 3 or I'm getting pretty proficient. And so now he's starting me on marimba. And this is where I got to really know the keyboard because, marimba's like xylophone.
Yes. Yeah.
For those of you out there, it's 2 mallets and you play single notes at first, and you could use 2 mallets on both sides, but it's one, and you're just playing the melody, you're playing a flute part in a symphony or something like that. So I got really proficient on that. And so, but then I was a closet drum set player. He didn't know that. He didn't want me playing drum set for quite a few years because he thought I was going to screw up my stroke. So I'm down in my basement and I'm listening to Chicago, Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire, listening to Danny Seraphin, playing the drums, and he'd go like, let me ask you something. He'd ask my mom, is he playing the drum set? And she'd go, yeah, no drum set. And then I used to swim in high school, and he'd go like, no, you're bulking up too much. No working out. No working out. You're holding the sticks wrong. You're too tight.
That's funny.
So he was like a perfectionist, and he was so into it. And so, closet. So now I'm in high school, and I'm playing drum set. I'm playing some shows. I'm playing, in the concert bands, and we break off and do like a spring concert and, some drum set. And then I would go play rock and roll. And I love the drum set. But again, I had to stay in this legit side of the world of legit percussion. But I'm a closet drum. I love the drum set. That's what I want to do.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So it's an interesting path I took to get to that place,
That's why when I see pictures of, do you play a drum set, or you just have drums out when you perform?
Well, I do percussion right now, but I do some drum set playing, but not much. I might do some of the jazz stuff, but right now it's just timbales and I got rid of my congas and I have bongos. I just think they cut a little more. They remind me a little of Maurice White with Earth, Wind and Fire. If you listen to September, you can the song September. You can hear that there's a bongo going on the corner. Dunk, 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 dunk,
I have to listen to it again.
Right,
yeah, that's interesting.
It keeps the tempo.
Yeah, and it cuts. The bongos just cut. The congas are great, but the bongo in my setting, and plus from a stage perspective, it's a little easier to set some timbales up with a bongo. For me, I've tried everything. I've had congas. I've had those. You've seen those congas that are like they look like about that thin.
No. Oh yeah.
They sound pretty good. Well, I've tried those, and I've tried a bunch of other things, but that's what I use right now on the gig.
So the gentleman, Ray, that's his name, right?
Ray Makowski. Yeah.
Did you ever see him again after you became very successful?
Well, that's interesting. We talked on phone. So what happened was out of high school. So during high school in Michigan, there's just different proficiency tests you can take as a musician, and you compete against other musicians from around the state, and they probably have it here in Texas. I'm sure URL or UR.
Yeah, UIL. I think it's UIL.
Right.
Yeah, UIL.
Right. Well, we had the same thing up there, and when I was in high school, I was competing at the highest level because you have to. And during that audition, during that competition, a fellow named Charlie Owens was the judge. Charlie Owens came from the Philadelphia Symphony, and he taught at the University of Michigan, which had a really good music school. And so what was really funny is now I was going to go to Wayne State when I came out of high school. Wayne State sits right in the city of Detroit.
Okay.
It's really an old
Right.
university. The
Yep.
facilities aren't very good, but the faculty is all symphony. The faculty
Yeah.
is incredible. So I was going to go to Wayne State. That's where I was going to go. And Charlie's like, "Where are you going to go?" Wayne State. And Charlie Owens knew Salvatore Rabbio. So Salvatore Rabbio was the teacher at Wayne State in Detroit. Salvatore Rabbio was the timpaniist for the Detroit Symphony. He was also in the Boston Symphony. You play drums? So have you ever played Vic Firth sticks?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Vic Firth would come in our rehearsals all the time.
That's crazy.
Fred Hinger,
Yeah.
Vic Firth would come in when I went to Wayne State. I ended up going to Wayne State, but I was offered full scholarship to Michigan. Charlie Owens offered me on the spot.
That's
So
pretty cool.
I ended up going to Wayne State. So I'm studying with Salvatore Rabbio at Wayne State, still
Wow.
legit, but wanting to play the drum set, man. Wanting
Yeah.
to do drum set stuff on my own. And what happened was I overheard a couple of my friends talking to somebody in Texas about a scholarship to go to the University of Texas in Arlington.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
They had a new band director there, Bill Snodgrass. Now, Bill Snodgrass, now I'm going to take you guys back. You may not know, but back with the big bands, you remember big bands with Stan Kenton, Woody Herman?
Oh, yeah.
And
Sure.
then the
Maynard
Brian
Ferguson.
Switzer guys
Yeah.
that came out later.
Right. It's
Yep.
kind of derivative of that.
Yep.
Well, the band director used to be with Stan Kenton Orchestra. So he was connected, and he was in his first year at the University of Texas in Arlington. He was recruiting a whole band from all over the country. I happened to hear the bass player, a friend of mine, and a saxophone were going to go up there. I said, "Hey, get me a scholarship because I want to go." So that's how I ended up going to Texas.
That's how you
Wow.
got here. I was getting to that point anyway, but that's how you got here.
Yeah, because I heard they were going to go to Texas to play big band. I thought, well, I don't know anything about that, but I want to do it, and I want to figure it out because I want to play drum set. Well, they had convinced the band director that, oh, he can play big band, he can read charts, he can do all that.
Mhm.
I get down there, had 2 weeks to figure how to kick a big band, how to play those figures, and
Jeez.
how to swing.
Yeah.
How to swing, not like to playing swing. So, man, I was in the practice room like 10 hours a day at least, and I got thrown in the fire. So you guys let me know when you want me to stop and you have questions, because now
No, man.
Now we're in
you're,
Texas.
We're good. We'll tell you.
Yeah.
we're
totally
in Texas
good.
now. So
That's it.
I'm going to University of Texas in Arlington. I'm studying. I'm studying to be a performance major. So in music school, you could become a performance major, which has a lot of emphasis on just performing, which really means nothing.
Right.
That
It's like getting an English degree.
yeah. You might be able to
A degree in communications.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all that degree, performance degree, just that you're going to study. You're going to be required to practice more and play and perform more and study with the higher end teachers. But the degree itself,
I got you. Okay.
the
Yeah.
degree itself doesn't get you a gig.
Right.
That does nothing. So I was a performance major, and I was playing in a big band there. So they got me in the band, and man, I had to work so hard to try to figure it all out. And I did that until I graduated from University of Texas in Arlington. And what the funny thing was about that was that when I was going to UTA, the percussion teacher there I was actually better than the percussion teacher. Percussion teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew more because I had studied all this classical music, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I did. So that's why I switched to a music education degree.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I switched from a performance to education degree because my mom's like, you need to get a degree, you need to teach because you need something to fall back on.
Yeah.
So you
don't want to live by it. You can't be a musician. Who makes money being a musician?
Right. You're gonna
Yeah.
you need health insurance. At one point she said, you need to join the army.
Yeah.
Join the army so that you can play in the army and maybe one day you play for the president. And it was so funny because we ended up playing the White
Playing
House.
for the president.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it was like, okay, well, that worked out, and she was happy to hear I got to play for the president. But so I'm doing it. So I graduate from UTA, and I'm gonna go work on my master's at North Texas. Now, all this time, I'm doing 6, 7 nights a week.
Jeez.
I was in a band. One of the first bands when I came here was called 4 Grand. 4 Grand. That's a real. I mean, think about that name. That's like such loungy. That's a loungy.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, like tell me you didn't all wear the same outfits.
Yeah, we did, man.
Yeah.
We had the same coats. We had the same ruffled shirts.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
We had the same thing. And you know what? An agent named us. It's like, what is this? 4 guys. Call yourself 4 Grand.
Jeez.
All right,
Yeah.
4 Grand. And we played the Hyatt before it opened. I mean, just when it opened. And we played all these supper clubs.
Yeah, I don't know. Wait, Caleb, we lost you.
Yeah. I just keep going.
Okay, we'll go
You
on.
all right? Okay.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
He just he'll come back on in a second.
Yeah, so
Um,
I was doing all the supper clubs and around Dallas, and going to school full time and playing every night. So it was quite a load. And teaching, I had about 20 kids.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So then you did that for a while. How long did there we go, he's back. How long did 4 Grand stay together?
Well, we stayed together about 2, 3 years, and then after that, I decided to join a long time ago. Some people in Dallas might remember Rick and Neil's.
It's before I was
Going back to Greenville Avenue.
I'm from South Texas and I moved back in 98, so you probably
Rick-
between time, yeah.
Yeah, Rick and Neil were 2 entertainers, and it was kind of a show, and they had lines around the building. I mean, and people from Dallas, if you go way back to the 80s, even some of the 70s, they remember Rick and Neil. They were really, really good. Well, Rick and Neil split, and Rick Menzick had his own band. So I took that gig and I played with him, and I learned so much from him from a professional standpoint. He could play. He'd come out and do a spiel like Ray Charles. People would lead him out. He had sunglasses on. He'd do Ray Charles. He'd turn around and do Devil Went Down to George with the fiddle. Then
Yeah.
he'd get the clarinet out and do some Pete Fountain and
Oh yeah.
take each piece off and keep playing. It was like this show, you know.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know, and I come from that background because in Detroit, Motown,
Oh, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
you know, and I was inundated with that. You know, Motown
Yeah,
was
me too.
20 minutes from my house.
Wow.
So when Barry Gordy wrote the record and he put a record out, it literally was on CKLW the next day. So we got all this new music in the Midwest, all this Motown, and it was real close to my house. But more importantly, you see the Temptations, the Four Tops, Supreme,
Yeah.
you see all that,
Yeah.
and you 4 people in steps, and they're doing kind of a show.
Yeah, the choreographed stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Bruno Mars took some of that. You know, he grew up with that show stuff with his father in Hawaii.
In Hawaii, yeah.
Yeah, but if you look at it, it's just a cooler, more modern version of what some of those Motown
Right.
acts are already doing.
Yeah. Same
You know,
thing.
You know, even Bruno Mars music that he puts out now is retro, and it almost
Yeah.
looks. He puts
Yeah.
It
albums
does
on.
he does have, and he has a lot of didn't he have big band sounds in it too, like horn dance
got a lot of
horns and
Oh
horns.
stuff?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 So you were doing that, and then in '83 is when you started Emerald City.
Right. So
And was it your idea and you said, I think I'm going to start my own band, and how'd that
Yeah.
all come about?
So one of the things I was doing while I was working on my master's degree in 80, 81, 82 was I already had a band called Emerald City, but we were doing like real eclectic tunes. We were doing like honky can. We were doing horn tunes, but like Luther Kent from New Orleans. We were doing an Elton John tune, like
Mm.
Honky Cat. We were doing
I love that song, by the way. It's a great
yeah,
tune.
you know, we were doing some of like nothing that would motivate people to get up and dance. Okay, they were more kind of listening tunes with a horn section, cool tunes, right? Tower Power, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I already had that project going on. But then I joined Rick Menzick. When Rick Menzick said, "Hey, everybody, we're going to move to Alaska," I said, I thought, man, I'm going to get really. What am I going to do here? I'm not going to go to Alaska. So I said, you know, I think I'm going to split. You know, I'm going to let you guys go to Alaska, and that's when that's in '83. A little before '83 is when I really focused on Emerald City. That's when I started really that.
Did you
And that
know
was
enough?
here. That was here in Texas.
Correct. Yeah, that was in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
So
Okay.
did you know enough players that you could go out and find them, or did you audition? How'd you do that?
Man, now we're going back, so I'm going to try to remember.
Craigslist.
I think it
No.
happened then, just like it still happens today. I think people know
Yeah.
people. Bass player
Yeah.
goes, "Hey, I know my buddy,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Tom, you know,
Yeah.
drummer." So, and I think some of the cats in that band came from the early inception of Emerald City. So they came. I know the horn section did, and so we have Emerald City playing, and we were one of the first bands with a horn section. Most groups didn't want to screw with that because there was too many people to pay.
Yeah.
To me, a little bit. Yep.
And we could get in talking about how much money I did make. We were getting $200 a night.
Jeez.
Ah,
the whole
the good
band.
old
Oh, the whole
days.
band.
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah.
band, and our tab was like 350, 400.
Yeah, exactly.
We lost
I
money.
remember those days.
You know what I mean?
Give me a
But who
pizza and
cares,
beer.
right? I'm
Yeah.
handing out $20. We're
Mhm.
paying to everybody $5, you know, to play the gig, you know, whatever. So, so one of the first clubs we played was Memphis in Addison.
Oh, I know where that is. Yeah.
Right, right. It's been there for a long
Yeah,
time,
it's been there a long time.
and they support live music to this day. They still do, and so that was one of our first gigs we did. And then we got on this circuit where we were doing like the Marriott in Addison. That they would have a band 6 nights, right? Monday through
Oh,
Saturday.
Wow. Okay.
And then Sunday night would be Sunday night Memphis. Then I would do Don Miguel's in Addison 6 nights. Then one. So I literally worked every night. We didn't have
Jeez.
a night off.
Yeah.
In 83, in 84, my horn section would work at the Malachite Room, doing Ella Fitzgerald shows. And when they were done, they'd come, run, and play our gig for the last set.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so you know, and it was out of love for the music. It was
Right.
out of love. This whole project, this whole journey for me was never conceived about how much money I can make. It never was. We've been very fortunate. We put a lot of people to work now, and we've been able to feed our families. But it was never, how can we make money? Oh, let's use music. It was always, we're going to
Right.
make music, and
Have
if you
fun,
make
yeah.
good music and people want to see you, you can make a living, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Even with 13 people.
Even with 13, but you gotta live broke, man. You know, we lived
Oh, yeah.
broke for a long
Yeah.
time.
I bet.
You know, it's never about, you know, when I have a place to stay, I'd have 3, 4 roommates because
Yeah.
we, you know, that's how it was, you know, in our
It's the only way
20s,
you could do it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the only way you can do it. Right.
Now
Yeah.
you've gone from that to becoming who you are now in the band. And just looking at some of the information, musician wise, is anybody besides yourself, who's the longest tenured person with you? How long have they been with you?
So I have a collection of musicians now. I bring the youth in, of course, and then we have some of the longstanding people. Dwayne Hager on bass since 89.
Well,
Jim Foster on trumpet since about 88. Adam Palma on guitar. Used to jam with Stevie Ray. Well, we're going back, you know.
yeah.
Incredible guitar.
Jeez.
He was with me. Adam was with me in 84, 85 for a short while, and then he went to LA. Then he came back, and he's been with me ever since. So Dave Butler on trombone, he's building his own trombones, fiber trombones, not metal, and
Wow.
he's
Yeah.
selling them all over the country. So he doesn't work with us that much, maybe once in a while, but it was really Dwayne, Adam, Foster, Jim Foster, Dave Butler. Those are the guys that go back to the late 80s that are still with me, that are still with me.
Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
go.
I've always been impressed with people that can keep a band together more than 5 minutes, because KT and I are rock guys. I'm a blues guy. I grew up playing blues and all that stuff. And,
Oh, no. I do a lot more than just rock.
well, not you, but I mean, I'm not going to get into it. But what I'm saying is, most of those bands in all the life I've been together, something happens, somebody gets irritated and goes, "Oh, I don't like your shirt today. I'm never coming back."
Those personalities.
Yeah, the personality conflict. And the previous interview that we did was with a guy that owns it 3 tribute bands. So as a guy that's put bands together, it's kind of like, use the boss. If you don't like something, well, I'll find somebody else to replace you, which is kind of interesting to me because you usually play with people. So I was always wondering about that, because I had a feeling, because I watched some of your website stuff and you were talking to the bass player, Yeah, I think in that segment called Memories from the Shoebox, I think
Yeah,
that was, yeah, you talked to him. And I
incredible.
figured, I have a feeling that that was one of the guys.
Yeah,
And now, you know, I'm not going to go through the attributes and all the stuff that you've done because they can go to your website, emeraldcityband.com. But I mean, People Magazine and you've been a lot of places. You played for President Bush a couple of times, I guess it was, and
yeah.
you've been on the West Coast, the East Coast. What now?
Almost
You're
Alaska.
almost Alaska.
I haven't been in Alaska yet.
No.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Dino, what do you attribute that to? I mean, as far as the longevity. I mean, obviously you love what you do, but still you got creative people. We all know what they're like because we is one. So, how do you deal with it? I mean, what's your secret? I
How do
guess
you
is
keep the fire burning?
yeah.
Well, first off, you have to have the fire within. You got to just love music. You have to be diligent. You can't. You you have to not let human nature take place where you get complacent.
Mm.
I have a high standard, keeps me up at night. I mean, and it's about the music. See, the key is about the music. Um, I see around me, there's a lot of folks that are getting into the business
Yep.
of making money with music first. I mean, think about like Joe Bonamasso's coming, right?
Yep.
I love Joe. I don't even know what the ticket would cost. I've never seen him, but I love what he does. And so if the ticket was whatever it was, I would pay to go see it. And I think people will come and pay and see a good band, and you can stay employed that way. But it's got to be about the music. You got to really be consistent. And consistency, here's what I tell my musicians, two words: consistency and effort. Consistency and effort, because if either one of those goes away, you got a problem.
Yeah.
You can't. It's like a great restaurant. I mean, why is Del Frisco? Why El Bernays? Why are these places like going so strong for after 20, 30 years? The
Consistency.
qualities that they keep the quality level way
Yep.
up here.
Yep.
You got to work hard to keep it up here. It's easy when you're successful. We don't got to do that. We don't need to worry about that. No, we're still trying to improve from gear standpoint, from a lighting standpoint, from a production standpoint, from a stage show perspective. We're evolving. We're constantly having rehearsals. You can never get complacent. That's the key. The key is you do it for the music. Money will come. If you do it really well, people go, I want to pay that. I want to pay to watch that guy do what he's doing. And so there's the gig. You're going to get the
Right.
gigs. And then once you get the gigs in there, you have an obligation to be super, super good, So I still have that, and I think you're a musician, you guys are musicians, and you know what I'm talking about. You play with
Yep.
bands, and you've been with some bands where guy comes late and doesn't know the song, doesn't know the tunes. And
Yeah.
then you got other guys who are like, no, this is the chord. This is the chord,
Mm.
They care about what's going on. Or this is the right beat. No, the kick drum's not doing that. The kick drum's supposed to be doing that.
Right.
It's
Right?
interesting to me though, Dino, is, Clapton just did 3 shows. He started his new tour here in Texas.
Mhm.
And somebody put a little bit of it on YouTube I was watching the other day, and he's got the same guys perform as he always
I'm
is.
sorry. Who's this?
Clapton, Eric
Eric
Clapton.
Clapton.
Yeah.
Oh, Eric Clapton. Yeah, I saw him at the guitar festival that came like a year or so ago,
Yeah.
2 years ago.
So, and I thought, well, does he have Nathan East playing with him? Does he have Dole Bramhall playing with him? Does he have yes, Steve Gadd? They're all the same
Yeah.
guys. And
Yeah, Billy Preston
you're,
used to work with him.
and here's the thing about you. You're in that same situation because when people pay to see him, they expect a super show every time. And if he's not feeling good, they don't care. They don't care when you walk, and you're in the same boat. I
Yeah,
mean, you do
absolutely.
all these shows, like when we were going to talk to you, you said, oh, I got a show in the afternoon, I got another show. They don't care how you feel. They want a great show.
We're going to give him a good show, 200%.
And that's got to be tough to keep that motivation up.
It's really tough. Yeah, I'll tell you guys, when we went through COVID, in
I was going
March,
to ask you about that too.
yeah, March 15th, we shut down. Like everybody did. We shut down. in our business, the hospitality business, the entertainment business was definitely shut down. I mean,
Yep.
you weren't going to congregate anywhere with anybody. So it shut down, and it was the first time that I literally was home for decades. And I was home, and I enjoyed it, man. I didn't have a problem with sitting and watching. I enjoyed the spring. I mean, it was one of the first times that I could really sit outside in the morning and sit outside, later in the evening and really enjoy the weather. Because how we enjoy the weather, we get in our car, we go from our house to the car. And that's about when we feel it. Get in the car and we go into a building, come out, and then we walk to our house. We're outside for a minute.
Yeah.
And we really get to enjoy those good times in Texas where it's spring and the fall, like it is right now.
Right.
Yeah.
That way.
Beautiful right now.
So
Yeah.
I enjoyed the COVID thing a little bit, but it makes you appreciate. And we have some COVID performances, by the way, on our website you could check out, where we got the guys together in separate places and we.
Oh, you did one of those where you did.
Yeah,
like,
we played.
cool.
Yeah.
We played two tunes, and we did some Sly, and we did some original stuff, and we did some Aretha Franklin and stuff like that. But we picked it up. Now the funny thing is, so I had this new front line of singers. They're younger, and we were just doing 1 gig a week, right? They're like, "Oh yeah, this is great." Well, my schedule last week, 5 gigs in 4 days. The week before that, 5 gigs. The week before that, and I'm telling you, they're like, on our last gig, they're like, "All right, I'm not gonna do anything for 4 days till our next." So, hey, we're a little out of shape, because we're not used to playing like we're used to. That's an Emerald City schedule, playing that much.
And I admire people. You're talking about Joe Bonamassa. You're talking about Eric Clapton. Those guys do their whole. Of course, they've done it for a long time, but Bonamassa always adds new songs. I've seen some of the players. We've seen them where they have the teleprompters down below. Some of them do still use that when they're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't use teleprompters, do you?
No.
I didn't think so.
No. It's funny because I'll do some rapping, and you miss the first word on the rap, you can't get back on the train.
Done. Train wreck.
You just can't get back on. The words are going by too fast. It's just you're done.
Yeah,
So,
you got to have it.
I'm just looking at my notes here. How do you figure out? I mean, your song list is just blows up all the time, I'm sure. I mean, obviously, what's fan favorites all the time. But are you constantly, you're talking about Bruno Mars a while ago, are you just looking for what's kind of hot at the time and trying to add it to it so people hear it?
Well, yes. And part of it is when you look at my song list, you'll say, wow, how he's doing Sinatra to Eminem. He's doing.
Actually, I understand that to the crowd. I understand because of what you do. Yeah.
Right. So like tonight we have a birthday party, at guy's backyard. Okay. When I get there, I'm going to look, and I'm going to say, oh, okay.
Must be a nice ass backyard.
It's in South Lake.
There we go.
But I'm going to look at the crowd and I'm going to say, okay, we got 50-year-olds. I know.
Yeah.
I know this is where I'm going to be. I do something for a younger crowd. I'm doing a graduation party for the SMU law fraternity. You're going to be doing something completely different.
Yeah, for sure.
So when I didn't have this diverse song list, I couldn't take gigs. People go, hey, can you do this retirement party? No, I don't know any Sinatra.
Right.
And then I said, hey, if I'm going to work, I better expand his set list. So if I'm playing a 60-year-old retirement party, I got it. If I'm playing a bar mitzvah, I got it.
Right.
Because we had to work. I didn't want to turn down work,
What's your normal? Are you guys a 3-hour type deal or a 2-hour deal or 1 hour? What's your normal?
It really depends. Like weddings are typically, they're going to want 4 hours, but there are breaks in there. When I do other events like public events and I do outdoor events and I'm doing those events are shows. So we'll do a 90-minute show, or I might do a 60 and a 45. Yeah. And then there's some corporate work. Those are usually 2 hours to 3. So that's a lot of music when you think about it.
Yeah, it is.
About how much music that really is.
35, 40 songs.
Well, because you're not doing like we do, like if you're playing at a bar, you go, well, we'll be back. We just, 45 minutes, you go sit down for 15, 20 minutes. You can't do that when you're doing your stuff.
We go song to song.
You got to keep playing.
Yeah. And we go song to song. We don't, but this music requires that. If I was doing a blues gig with you, You do a blues song. It's
Jam.
normal to stop,
Yeah.
have a drink, light up the
Yeah.
smoke.
Talk it up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tyler, say now we're gonna, go do this tune, which
Yeah.
is
This one's
that's how,
about, yeah,
you don't
story.
rush
Yeah.
things, but in our world where it's almost like emulating a DJ, just boom, boom. We're trying to keep our emphasis is a lot on are we motivating the people to dance? This is just what we do. It's not like what everybody should do or others do, but in my world, that's what we do. If you took me out of this world and put me into I was playing a jazz gig or a blues gig or even a rock gig.
Right.
Rock gig has nothing to do with dancing, really.
No.
No. So it's just what we do. The people we play for, that's one of the parts of it, is the dance floor. So
Now, if I'm not wrong, do you handle all the engagements? Are you the one they talk to all the time when somebody calls?
well, it's from 83 to about 2009, 2010, I booked the band, I rehearsed the band, I led the band, I did everything for the band, all of it. And in 2010, I brought on a fellow. His name is Doug Morris, and Doug took the calendar over. He helped me book the band,
Ah,
and it's probably best because I would give things away. Literally, if somebody calls, like, man, I love your band. I met my wife at the club you're playing at, but I only have $3,000. I go, that's okay, I'll take it.
yeah.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
because you love me so much, you love the band, we'll do it. So
Yeah.
But I assume in that situation, you're the one that took it in the shorts, not your performers.
no, that's why I had 4 roommates, trying to pay rent. But
Right.
so then Doug came on board, and the funny thing is in 2009 and 10, my calendar was booked. I was already booked, and I would get a lot of calls. People say, "Hey, I want to book you on May 13th or whatever," and I'd say, "I'm already booked." But then I would send them to different agencies in town, and the agency would give me, a little percentage.
Yeah.
For throwing the work their way. But then people started calling me
But then
back.
they would throw you stuff too, right?
Not really.
No.
No.
It wasn't a two-way street.
No, I was already booked. But
Yeah.
but I would give it to them. But then I had a lot of clients would call me back and go, I want a band like yours. I don't want a band like that they're trying to sell me. So
Yeah.
that's when in 2010, I started another band called Limelight. That was my first other band. So you guys know I've got 5 bands.
Oh, wow.
Boy, no.
Yeah. So this is the
So
history.
you're okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, here's the history of the Emerald City bands for a minute. So Emerald City's plowing along for 83 to 2010, and then I have to start another band because the community asked for it. I wasn't in the band building business. I really did. I was happy just my band.
Yeah.
So I started Limelight, and their calendar started filling up, and then I started another band called Downtown Fever, another band called a few years later Party Machine. And then
Wow.
I have another smaller band called Elevation. So we have Emerald City here, and we have Emerald City Management here, and the management's got the 4 bands, and of course I'm over here with my 1 band.
Yeah.
But we didn't recreate the wheel. All these bands do the same thing Emerald City does. I don't have like a country band or
Yeah.
a tribute band.
Right. Right.
We pretty much do what Emerald City does, because that's the kind of calls we get, right? When people call and want Emerald City like product, so that's what we sell. So that the good news about that is that we are putting 70 to 100 musicians to work every week,
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's really
Yeah.
cool.
and that's the glory now. After all these years, that's the best thing about what I do is that I'm able to put people to work doing what they love, playing music, because you know how hard it is to get a gig.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
It's really, really tough.
That's
So
killer, man. Good on you. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome.
Well, and and I assume most years comes now by word of mouth. You've been around so long. The people, and you get repeat, just like you do up the one we were talking about over in Frisco. They
Mhm.
they know who you are. They know they're gonna hire you back, and they know the quality you've got. And then I'm sure the people probably call somebody and go, "Hey, I'm looking for a band." Oh, well, we hired Emerald City. You got to hire
Absolutely.
them.
Word of mouth. Yeah.
Absolutely. And for all the musicians out there, the performance is the best way to promote your band, your act. There's all sorts of ways you can, with different advertising on social media and social media itself and industry magazines and billboards and you name it, but nothing beats a great performance. You play for 300 people at a wedding, and we might get eventually over the next year, we might get 5 people who will book us.
Right.
So the performance is the best way to advertise your band.
Yeah. Well, I just really have been impressed because being a musician myself and seeing people play that are really good, other than going and see the big time guys, it's nice to see. And it was interesting when we were talking to the gentleman that ran the tribute bands and you mentioned it earlier, Gino, making $200 a night. You elevate that quality, you're going to get more money.
Yeah.
And you're not sitting around arguing with somebody over $100 a night per player, and they're going, "No, you're bringing 50 people, aren't you?" No, and you have a Grammy, don't you? So just real quick on something else. You mentioned that you're a songwriter and write hooks. You guys don't really go into the studio too much and record, do you? I mean, do you go in and put your own stuff out? I mean, you thought about it more, or
like I'm working on a hook right now.
There's your DAW right behind you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on a hook right now. I'll play for you.
Okay.
This is just an idea. This is the first part of it.
What are you working on there? What is that? Is that Studio One?
This is I'm working Logic.
Logic.
Oh, Logic Pro.
Pro.
That's my DAW right there.
Okay, hold on a second.
I'm the one that loves you. I'm the one who kisses you. I'm the one that holds you with no one else to feel. No one knows you better. No one loves you more. No one keeps you coming back for more.
Nice. Is that you singing?
So that's just the hook. I'm just so I do my own thing here.
Is that your vocals? Is that you singing?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I program it.
That was good, man. That was really good. Yeah, that's awesome.
I got a B3 over here. I got a Wurlitzer over here.
Hey, when we come into your house?
Yeah. When are we jamming, man?
I got a drum set. Everything is completely mic'd. Everything is headphones everywhere, completely mic'd, ready to go. I did a tune. I just did a tune several months ago. I didn't even use the computer. I played the beat. I played the drums.
Yeah.
And then I played the B3. Then I played the Wurlitzer.
Yeah.
And then I had a bass player and guitar player come in because I don't.
Oh, okay.
Strings on it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So
okay. All right. So
that's great.
So we all use DAWs. All three of us do. What do? Do you use a click, or do you put the drums down? How do you do your original? When you first do your first line, do you put the click in, or how do you do it?
Well, I would probably use some sort of percussion loop or a drum.
I mean, like the one you're writing now, when you started writing it from scratch.
Okay, on this one,
yeah.
I think I used a click and I played the kick drum part in, and I played I snare, but I auditioned tons and tons of sounds. You know, this one really, when I started building it, I was thinking Hall and Oates a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I got away. I was going to do the 809, the 808 thing.
Oh, 808, yeah.
Right. You know, what's my mind can't think of it right now, but they're obvious hits. They use the 808 and the 809 drum machine. I was going to do that. Then I went to finger snap.
Casio.
Yeah. So I'm kind of moving around a little bit on different sounds, but this one I started with a click.
KT, what do you do? You use a click, don't you?
No. When I usually start off with the harmonics, like harmonically. Since I'm a vocalist, I'll usually come up with more of with an idea, like a melody on a keyboard or something like that.
But when you record it, what do you do to keep it steady all the way through? Do you use a click track?
I use MIDI instruments so I can just quantize.
Yeah. Well, I'm a true singer. I mean, I know how to play the keyboard. I know how to play the guitar, the drums, all that stuff, but not to a point where the drums I could play with a band, but everything else is more just finger pecking.
Yeah.
Well, and with me, I can't
using different plugins to help me write, because I don't know chords and chord progressions.
Yeah. So
there's other programs like Mixed in Key that do all your music theory stuff for you. So it just allows you to be creative.
I can't use a click track. It just drives me crazy. So I just have a drum machine.
I can tell.
Yeah, I know. Thanks for sharing that.
No,
No, I always
you
kid.
can feel it.
Yeah, because I just can't, when I put the click track on, I'll figure it's going to be 120, 100, whatever BPM it is. And I just listen to
Yeah.
it and I just can't kick it, so what I do is I figure out the BPM and then I just record a blank drum track for 5 minutes or 6 minutes. That's just to keep me,
No. So you
keep me
use
in the
drums as a
groove.
click. It's
Yeah,
almost the same
as the
thing.
drums,
Yeah.
and that helps me out. So
Yeah. Any digital drum, it's good.
and then we do the other drum sides. But I think what's cool, Dino, is that you keep writing. And here's my other question for you regarding this, because it was our friend Doug mentioned this to me. He was listening to my album, and he says, he was nice about it, but he says you kind of got an older style music. And I go, he wasn't like saying like I sing old, but I don't play the newer stuff because I'm older. So, I guess for you, you're around a lot of younger performers, so you kind of can stay up with the new stuff. I mean, that song you were playing for us a while ago, that had little Motown, little action. I could hear a little Detroit in it coming back in there. And so when
Yeah.
you do stuff like that, do you take it to the band and say, I want to do one of my originals? Or do I assume you do a few of your originals?
Well, it's funny because when I started playing Memphis in 1983, we were doing originals, um, and funny, I'd say, "Oh, we're going to do an original song," and everybody kind of get disinterested because "Oh, I don't recognize it,"
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would do I'd do a song that everybody loved, and I'd go right into my original tune,
And not even say nothing. Yeah.
and nobody flinched. They were just
What
like,
was
"Oh,
that?
I
It
love
sounds so familiar.
So
I
that's how
think
I
I've
got
heard
into
that before.
Yeah, but more and more and more, we ended up doing, the tunes we do, which is less and less original music. People ask for it all the time, and it's sort of like I do want to do a show where I'm just doing all my original stuff. I
Yeah.
do that. That's my goal is to just do my originals because I have at one point in time in our life with Emerald City, our original tunes were really really popular. I mean, people would come to hear those tunes.
That's
And
cool.
then as time evolved and we got down the road a little bit and we evolved with younger singers and playing these corporate events and weddings, where they don't lend themselves very well to original music. You go to a wedding, play a original song, you get kicked out of there,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So just
I
by the
wrote this
nature,
love song for our wedding couple. I hope you enjoy it. Who's it by? Me. They're
yeah.
like, okay, you're done now. So anyway, I just got a couple of quick questions and we're going to wrap this thing up. What would you tell somebody now? I mean, you come from kind of the big band era with your mom and the big band sound and all that stuff. When you get younger players, and you're right, because and KT and I've talked about this. When I talk to people and they want to get into music, they want to go play. And then I tell them it's the business of music, not the music business.
Mhm.
So if you find talent and they are like that and go, I just love what I do. I don't care how much money I make. So when you see the younger people, are they see a long career in front of them? I mean, how do you're the maestro. What do you kind of lead them on? You're the mentor for them.
Well, you're right. It's a different time and it's a different place. When we grew up, we loved bands. We'd go see a band. They'd stay together until they folded. We'd go see whatever rock band you want to see because they were a collective group of people.
Yep.
The younger singers, younger musicians watch American Idol. They watch these shows
Individuals.
on Fox and they see a singer and they darken out the guys in the band so that there's no perception that there's no reality to some of the singers that there's what is a band. It's sort of like a football team without the line, without offensive linemen or defensive linemen. They seem to get forgotten, but it doesn't work without them. And the same with the rhythm section, same with horns. The shelf life of the younger musicians is about 2 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
2 years. You get in my band, I'm going to make you think you're in the Rolling Stones to some of these people. And after 2 years, you're like, man, I'm going to go blah, 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 blah. They do it. And the next thing, 2 years later, like,
Yeah.
hey, I need a gig. So it's hard. It's hard to explain to young people, what we grew up doing.
Right.
And the valuation of being in one band, of the bands we admired, the Stones. The Stones got the same people pretty much,
Yeah.
for years and years and years. So I do educate. I love my musicians. That's what I believe my job is at this point in my life, is to mentor,
Sure.
and to educate, and to share with the past, the musicians we learn from, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that, growing up and people, and that's, to be honest with you, one of the reasons I didn't go on for a full career is I kept hearing stories of, like you said, well, we got in a van and we traveled for 3 hours and spent the night in the same hotel room. We ate crackers and a beer, and and then if you either make it big or if you don't. And I don't think young people could do that now. I don't think, I don't think they're not gonna, if I can't walk in and go, well, am I not big? Can I get on American Idol, America's Got Talent? When am I going? I don't think they could do that anymore. I don't think they'd have the drive to do it. And I don't blame that on social media, but I mean, you put out something you made yourself, and the next thing you know, if it has 1 billion views on YouTube, then people are calling you up. But I was watching somebody the other day on YouTube, very well-known producer, and he said record labels are history. We don't even need them anymore. They still think we need them, but they really
Just need them for distribution.
yeah,
Distribution is all
just
you need these days.
distribution. I mean, you still got to have publishing companies and all that stuff to get your stuff out there.
Right.
So, which is interesting. You said that 2 years, and that's pretty much the drive. The drive is not there. I just don't think it's just
Well,
a
they want
different
it now.
treatment.
It's I want it now kind of mentality.
Right.
You know, my dad worked at Ford's for 35 years. People don't
Wow.
stay in gigs anymore.
No.
They don't stay in one place, and
No.
so it is a way of life. It's a style. It's something you learn, and it's changed. And it's going to change the next 10, 20 years. It's going to change, and who knows where it's going to go, where it'll end up then.
So
Flying stages.
3D, 3. So
3D.
let's end this. You've met a lot of people on the road. You've played for a lot of people. Can you tell us anything that's the weirdest thing that ever happened to you, or the one you just go like, this, I shocked at this, what happened, or performer you've met where they were just like, you really were impressed by them? I mean, you've got probably 1,000 stories like that, but what kind of stands out in your mind of people that you've met?
Well, I've had some weird situations. I've been like, I did a gig with Bruce Hornsby, and we were eating before the gig, and real nice guy, super good pianist, super great.
Oh yeah, Bruce.
But he was freaking out about it. It was a small, intimate. He was almost playing a cocktail hour, and people were walking around. He's not used to that.
No.
And they were using their phone, and he stopped playing. He would tell people, put your phone down, and all that. I've done a gig once where I did this private event in this gym for these kids, and I'm playing, and nobody's even paying attention to us. Nobody's even dancing. And I'm like kind of bummed out. I'm like, well, I'm striking out here, I go sit on the side of the stage. This guy walks up to me, goes, "Hey man, don't feel bad if they're not dancing. Everybody here is deaf." It was for
I knew that was coming.
No,
That's crazy.
So I said, "Oh, well, I was glad to be there to do whatever,
Yeah.
I could do, but it was like, I got it.
And you didn't tell me this before?
I didn't know." And then,
That's funny.
I did a gig with Michael McDonald. If you look at my trombone player, I got a picture. I could show you guys where they look like brothers. A trombone player and Michael McDonald, and they're together.
Wow.
Backstage.
Yeah.
So there's this, there's coincidental things that happened, but if I had thought about this ahead of time, I'd probably come up with some really good stuff.
No.
Sure.
When
1980s. I'm sure there's you could probably write a book on backstage.
I'll tell you one. I'll tell you one. Think, who is that comedian? Frank, do you remember a guy named Frank Gorshin?
Yeah, I did imitations. Yeah, he was did voices. Yeah.
Jalapeno on a stick?
No.
That guy?
No.
Very
famous in the 60s and 70s. Frank.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did the Joker on the Batman thing. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back an original Batman, by the way.
So I was at this gig. I've had 3 clubs, Emerald City clubs. My first one was on Greenville Avenue. And that was 84, 85. Anyways, I'm playing a gig there. And this guy comes up and going, hey, I want to hear some Sinatra, you know. and so, say, here's a mic, sing along. He starts singing, and we're going, ladies and gentlemen, Frank Gorshin, right?
Yeah.
We take a break. I walk off the stage. I go to the left of the stage, and there's that agent that named my band $4,000. He's sitting there with Frank Gorshin.
Wow, that's funny.
That was weird.
That is weird.
That's weird.
That's
Yeah.
weird. I mean,
Of all people, we're going to use Frank Gorshin. We could use Rich Little. We could use any.
Yeah. And there he
you
was.
say here's
That's
Frank
funny.
Gorshin.
Sitting in the club.
It's like subliminally you saw him and that just kind of sparked up. That's funny.
Well, I just
Well,
want to
good
tell
stuff,
you,
man.
it's great stuff. We appreciate you taking time. For those that don't know, once again, it's emeraldcityband.com. Everything you need to know about this wonderful band. I
So
go to
where
the
does the
website.
layman like me who can afford to do a private party with you guys, where do we see y'all in
That's a good question.
out in the open, not privately? Do you guys play any
We
clubs?
do a lot of shows. We Lava
Okay.
Cantina is one of the venues.
Okay.
We work. Grandscape. We work. We don't do as many clubs as we used to do.
Yeah.
But we'll do city events. There was a place I did last Thursday called The Sound in Capel. That was a concert venue. I did that. We did on last Saturday afternoon, we drove to Greenville for the City of Greenville celebration. That was all those are public, and you can find it on our website, emeraldcityband.com.
Okay.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. And what we're going to end up doing, so we'll say goodbye. And I want to thank Deno for coming on from Emerald City. KT and I
Definitely.
will be back for episode 11. We don't know what we're going to be doing. We are adding some new things. We're going to try to be out here once a week with some tech
Once
tips.
a week, y'all.
Some tech tips. And
Thank you guys very much. Thank you.